So it's sad that all the land surrounding Israel on all sides by countries that want Israel completely destroyed. Christians must always stand for the right of this long persecuted nation to exist. It's their God-given right. It is God's chosen land. Here's some other stories out of the Times of Israel. IDF soldiers uncover a tunnel shaft in a mosque in Gaza. Also found weapons storages in a mosque in Gaza. And in the basement of this mosque, there was various tunnels connected to a larger tunnel network. You know, a couple days ago, I saw a mosque destroyed on video in Gaza. I would say this particular mosque they found with all these huge amounts of tunnels and a weapons storage facility should be destroyed also. Take it down. Bring it down. Bring down that house of Satan. You know, I can't help but think this Gaza incursion is going to do a lot of things. I think this is the event that will kind of rally all the Muslims to say, come, let us make sure the name of Israel is remembered no more, like Psalm 83 talks about. That it'll help solidify the bond that Muslims that hate each other will have because of their common enemy, Israel. I also think this Gaza incursion is going to embolden Israel. They're blowing up mosques. They're bringing down Muslim temples, or mosques, I'm sorry. Muslims don't have temples, they have mosques. I think that will embolden them to bring down the Dome of the Rock, which, by the way, is not a mosque, it's just a shrine. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is a little further north of the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount. Revelation 11, 1 and 2 tells us the Temple Mount will be shared, that the outer courts will be trampled on by the Gentiles. Now, in biblical terms, you're either Jew or Gentile. If you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile. Whether you're a white Christian, whether you're an Arab Muslim, whether you're a Chinese Buddhist, whatever. If you're not a Jew, then you're a Gentile, okay? So I think very plainly we're going to see this come to pass. Here's a story out of International Business Times. Gaza crisis. ISIS pledged to join the Palestinian fight against barbaric Jews. ISIS, now called the Islamic State, says it's only a matter of time before they reach Palestine to join the fight against barbaric Jews. Of course, speaking of Israel. Psalm 83, right there, people. They're saying, yeah, we'll be there. Out of CNN, this time Gaza fighting is proxy war for entire Middle East. Wow, a proxy war. Very interesting, though, because this time there's several Arab and Muslim nations and factions that are no longer supporting Hamas. It laid bare divides in the Middle East. It's no longer the Muslims against the Jews. Now it's the extremists, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Hezbollah, and their backers, Iran, Qatar, and Turkey, against Israel, and the more moderate Muslims, including Jordan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. Very interesting. These are amazing times we're living in, people, watching the Bible unfold. Out of the Jerusalem Post, U.S. Senate blocks Iron Dome funding to Israel. Really? You're blocking a defensive weapon? Trying to, what, even the score here, U.S. Senate? Keeping Israel from being able to defend themselves? Who is America supporting in this? Well, who do you expect them to support when we have a Muslim president? Here's a story out of Ynet News. Iran's Quds Force says to Hamas, turn Israeli land and sky into hell. Iran, speaking about wiping Israel off the face of the earth. How about this, out of Business Week? Gaza's next disaster, no cement for rebuilding. They're saying, Gaza's going to need to be rebuilding, but where's the cement going to go? Is Hamas just going to use it to rebuild these tunnels? The Israeli Defense Forces estimate that each of the 36 underground passages that troops have found so far required 350 truckloads of building supplies. So, will Hamas rebuild schools and hospitals and storage places and factories, or are they going to just rebuild their tunnels so they can attempt to destroy Israel yet again? Out of the Washington Free Beacon, Rouhani, president of Iran, says this festering Zionist tumor has opened once again. The world thought he was some kind of moderate, that he was, not as bad as Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Here he is talking about Israel needing to be wiped out. Interesting. How about this story? Out of RT.com, U.S. to sell largest ever Hellfire missile cache to Iraq. Really? Hellfire missile cache. Isn't that interesting? How are we to know that it won't fall into the hands of ISIS or the Islamic State, since they pretty much run everything else in Iraq? How about this story? Out of the Washington Times, Catholic League slams Obama, says, do Christian lives mean so little to you? Wow. The head of the Catholic League issued a scathing criticism at President Obama, pointed to the Christians being beheaded by Muslim terrorists and asking, doesn't that matter to you? Christians are being beheaded all over the Middle East because they're Christians, and those carrying out this mass murder are doing so in the name of Islam. Yet you continue to say and do absolutely nothing about these unspeakable crimes. Do Christians mean so little to you? The world is noticing Obama's fruit. His stinking, rotting fruit from hell. Okay? He can say he's Christian all day long, but he's clearly supporting the Muslims, just like he said he would in his book. He talked about also, the Catholic League said Muslim terrorists are killing Jews in Israel. Do Jewish lives mean so little to you? People are taking notice all over the world. Here's the kind of story that melts my heart. Out of crosswalk.com, it says millions of Muslims are converting to Christ. I fully recommend reading this whole story. It's quite lengthy, and I can already tell I'm kind of behind. So let's get right into the word. I've been talking about marriage and divorce lately. I think it's important because in this day and age, we're seeing the institution of marriage coming under fire. In Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 5, actually I'm just going to read verse 1. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. The Bible's clear, God doesn't like divorce. He hates it, in fact. And please, don't misunderstand me. I know there are many cases in marriage where divorce is probably the best options, especially in cases of adultery, infidelity, and abuse. If your husband's beating you, it's probably time to get out. Most of us would agree, probably. Divorce isn't a laughing matter, but we hear it all the time. Comedians say, yeah, my ex-wife is a great housekeeper. When we got divorced, she kept the house. Boom, psh, right? You hear of no-fault divorce and uncontested. It just makes it so easy, this alternative to marriage. Well, if it doesn't last, I can always get divorced. It doesn't work out. It's too easy to get divorced these days. People don't treat it seriously enough. That's what was a problem for me. It's a lifelong commitment, and that really overwhelmed me. I was almost 26 before I got married, and I thought, yeah, I'll probably be a lifelong bachelor. God had other plans, clearly, but it scared me. I was like, wait, I have to just be with one girl the rest of my life? Wow, that better be some kind of special girl. And then God showed me my future wife. Yep. Some people even look to the Bible to justify divorce. They look for loopholes in Scripture in God's rules for marriage. I think we're missing the point when we look for permission to get divorced. I don't think it should be an option for anyone going into it. It should be till death do us part. And I understand the difficulties. I've been married over 25 years. I know how difficult it is. My marriage was under horrible attack a couple years ago. It was, I thought, wow, am I going to make it to 25 years? I don't know. So I know what can happen. But if you want a deeper understanding of God's true perspective of marriage, look at the provisions that he gives to newlyweds in Deuteronomy 24, verse 5. God excuses the newly married man from a lot of responsibilities, including military service, so he can give and devote a complete year